everyone, and the meeting is working perfectly. That's great. Okay, so let's begin today's session, right? So today's session is about rheumatoid arthritis, as you are aware of the topic. So, who is presenting? Please open your mic and we can start.
Thank you, Dr. Rafia.
You're welcome. So, we will start with a discussion, all right? Now, for those who have joined just now, the scenario is you are an FY2 in the GP clinic. Mrs. Melinda Thompson is a 58-year-old who has presented to the clinic with complaints of pain in her hands. Please take a history, assess her, and discuss the plan of management with her. Now, when you have a question like this and your patient is more than 40 years of age, if you have two names given, such as this, Mrs. Melinda Thompson, when you go inside and this patient is okay with you calling them anything, please remember, look at the age. If they are 58 years old, always call them Mrs. and their last name together. Okay, instead of their first name, you can call them Mrs. and their last name together. If they specifically say no, you can call me Melinda, it's completely okay. But otherwise, a patient more than 50 years of age, I would say 40 to 50 years of age, always use Mrs. and their last name and address them. If they leave the decision on you to call them as however you would like. So my advice would be to call them in this way. These are just little things, and this improves your outcome of the scenario. Okay, so it's not something that might cause you to not clear a scenario, but it just helps in rapport building. So that's the reason why I would like that you do this. Okay, so it's just one tip from me. Now, the question asks you to take a history, assess her, and discuss plan of management with her. So when you enter the cubicle, you have a few differentials in your mind. It could be rheumatoid arthritis, it could be tensosynovitis. So you don't really know what's going on. All you know is that she just has a pain in her hands. Okay. When you entered, you presented, and the examiner gives you a photograph, or they may give you a photograph, or they may verbalize findings. You never really know, but this is the photograph that I have put up. I just chose this photograph from Google Images, so it's not exactly the one which you might have in your notes. So I'm really sorry about that, but I'm not allowed to put on those things because I would be putting this video up. So that's the reason why I haven't chosen those photographs, and I just put something from Google Images. All right. Okay. Now moving on. So how do you talk about conditions like this? So whenever you have a chief complaint as pain, always remember to do Socrates for the pain. And the next thing I would like to say is, if there are any other complaints besides pain, then please use Odipara. Now, what is Socrates? As all of you know, it's used for assessing the pain score, the pain complaint in patients. So Socrates is for pain. If they complain of anything else like rash, stiffness, weight loss, any other complaints, you can use Odipara. Whenever you get a chief complaint in the exam, always remember to elaborate it. If the patient gives you the option by saying, what do you mean by what else apart from this? Then you should know what you are going to ask. And this planning needs to be done at the door when you are reading the question. Okay. So moving on. Now, what are the specific signs and symptoms which patients can present with relating to rheumatoid arthritis? The first would be pain, stiffness of the affected joints, swelling, and of course, feeling of warmth or feeling of heat around the joints. Okay. So when these patients come with these complaints and you are asking them, okay, since when did it start? How did it start? How has it been since it started? Do you think it's getting worse? Do you think it's getting better? Could you tell me some things that's making it better? What did you do when you had this? Did you take any medications? Did you try to get yourself treated somewhere? Did you try to visit the GP? Oh no, I did not. This is the first appointment that I got. Okay, all right. Could you just score this pain for me? So on the scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is the lowest and 10 is the highest. So they may not give you a very severe pain depending on what point of presentation they are coming at. If this is a very acute presentation, it's just there for the last 3 weeks, the pain score might not be that high. However, if they are coming as a second or third time presentation, if there is a rheumatoid flare, if you expect something like that, or if there is septic arthritis involved along with this, then the pain score would definitely be high, be about 7 to 9. So that's something to keep in mind. This is a first time presentation. This is not a second or third time presentation. So the pain is relatively okay. It's 6/10, and she's telling you that I did take some paracetamol, but it did not give me any relief. Okay. When patients tell you that they have stiffness along with pain over their joints, so yes, it is definitely a good idea to ask whether it's just one hand, two hands, or any other part of the body which may be involved. It could be the feet, it could be the back, elbows, shoulder, okay, pain anywhere else. So this is a good question to ask, okay? And apart from that, you can rule out mobility and function in the history itself. But this patient already tells you that her routine, her daily activities is being affected because of this pain and stiffness. So you can ask her, okay, so could you tell me a quick recap of what are the daily activities which are being affected due to this? Okay. So here itself, she will tell you that she loves gardening. She likes to do gardening, and she's not able to do it. She's not able to do water her plants. She's not able to take care of them because of this pain and this stiffness. So if she says something vague like this, it would be a good idea to actually dive into it, because you would like to know if she is able to water them at least, if she is able to, you know, pick up the hose and water the plants. What is she able to do? If she is saying that I'm not able to do anything, I'm not even able to pick up the hose, I'm not able to comb my hair, I'm not able to cook my food, right? So that means there is a very severe affection of the joints, and it requires probably very urgent evaluation by the specialist. Okay, that's what it means. So you ask this question in order to give the right management. Okay, now this one I will talk about in the bonus scenario. Okay, now let's move on. How can you make your history shorter, right? So we want to make our history very short. We want to ask very less of negative history. We want to take a focused history, because otherwise we'll run out of time. So apart from these complaints, have you noticed anything else? And when she says, like what? What do you mean? So you can ask her any lumps or bumps anywhere in the body. I may also ask you a few questions. They may sound a little serious. Signpost, please. They may sound a little serious, but it's very important that I ask you these questions in order to make sure everything is okay with you. Then you can ask about fever, tiredness, any unintentional loss of weight, symptoms specific to the cardiovascular system, that is, shortness of breath, palpitations, and chest pain. Differentials, I would recommend a minimum of at least 2 differentials. You can have 4 in your mind, but by the time you reach the exam, because of nervousness, it's very natural to not remember 4, but at least try to do 2 differentials. Okay. Now my differentials, I have put them as septic arthritis, reactive arthritis, polymyalgia rheumatica, which I already ruled out when I was taking my history of presenting illness itself. How did I rule out septic arthritis? I asked for fever. How did I rule out reactive arthritis? Once again, I asked for fever, polymyalgia rheumatica, any other joints which were affected. So these are some questions I asked and I ruled out. If I want to rule out reactive arthritis, then I can ask about altered bowel movements and history of travel. You can ask these questions here, or you can ask them later on when you come to P2 or P3, right? So this is about history of presenting illness, which constitutes P1, that is elaborating the complaint given by the patient, asking about any other symptoms or constitutional symptoms, symptoms specific to the condition, and asking about differentials. Now, why do we need to know what are the specific questions we ask? Now, what I prefer is that in each and every scenario, you have questions specific to the topic that you're dealing with. Okay, this makes it look more organized, it makes it look more structured, and it also saves your time. It saves your time in the sense you will have less of negative history to ask and less of differentials to roll out. Okay, so this you can finish in 1 minute, all of this. Next, moving on to P2 and P3. Okay, so P2 includes past surgical history. Do you have any long-term medical conditions? Did you have any previous surgical procedures? Have you ever received any blood transfusions? If it's a woman, then I do encourage asking obstetric and menstrual history. Do you have any children? When was your last menstrual cycle? Okay, now this lady, she's 58 years old. She must be menopausal, but it's a good idea to ask her if she is or not. Okay, you can note these things down. This takes only about half a minute. When you ask medical conditions, do you have any other medical conditions, and patient says no, I don't, you can move on. If patient says yes doctor, I do, then please ask what are the medications you're taking for those conditions. Are you taking them regularly? Are you visiting the GP regularly? Okay, so you can bring the medications and allergy part in P2 itself. Okay, because this demonstrates a flow of thought and a flow of organized history taking. That's why. Now, what is personal and lifestyle history specific to rheumatoid arthritis, family history, or any other immune related conditions which runs in the family? Okay. Psychosocial impact of work and activities. So, you asked in the beginning, and let's assume she told you that it's her gardening that is being affected, and she's quite concerned about that because she really loves to do gardening and she feels really bad that she's not able to focus on that. Apart from that, could you tell me something about your diet? Do you smoke? Do you drink alcohol? Or have you used any, or do you use any illicit drugs? Okay. So these are the most important questions in personal and lifestyle history. Okay. If you want to take a very focused history because you want to spend more time in management, so these are the points that you should have, which constitutes focused history. Okay. The rest of the questions, I'm not saying they're not important, but this is basically what constitutes focused history taking. Okay. When you take a history which is focused, it saves your time because you have time for examination, you have time to summarize, you have time to address their concerns. And please remember, rheumatoid arthritis is a serious condition. Okay. And when you are going to break this news to the patient that you may be suffering from this condition, please remember, you need to pause and you need to explain to them what's going on with them. Okay. Now, the countries where we come from, every second or third patient walks in with pain, swelling in their joints, warmth, and stiffness of the joints, and we suspect osteoarthritis or rheumatoid arthritis. Personally, when I used to work, so every other day I would have, at least 5 or 6 OPD presentations of either rheumatoid arthritis or osteoarthritis. Okay, so it's quite common. And when we tell these patients that, oh, we suspect you have this condition, maybe we don't signpost, perhaps we do not even think in the regard that it's a serious condition. But please remember, when you're moving from to a country apart from your own, so it's better to let them know that it's a serious condition. Take pauses. Why? Because the management is quite different, okay, from what we may have worked with or what we may have experienced it to be, right? So moving on, I was saying yes about the history taking and about explaining management. So that's what I was telling you, that I encourage the history taking to be quite focused. Okay. Now, examination and investigations. So yes, recording observations is very important, especially SpO2. Okay, why? Because rheumatoid arthritis is a condition which can involve the other systems also. So you do need to know the SpO2 as well, apart from pulse, respiratory rate, blood pressure, temperature, saturation of oxygen in the person's body is also important to find out. Okay. Local examination of the hands or the joints. So we do a local examination, try to find out if there are any nodules, if there is if there is pain and stiffness even while we are examining them. Systemic review, particularly the cardiovascular system. Why? Because rheumatoid arthritis, when left untreated, can severely involve the cardiovascular system. And this is why I say that it is a serious condition. Spend some time in management to talk about it, give them some time to process it as well. Okay. So you do have to examine the cardiovascular system. Tests, because you are located in the GP clinic, you can do these tests, that is a complete blood count, ESR CRP, RA factor, take a heart tracing, X-ray of the affected joints. Now that depends on the GP clinic where you are located. Some clinics may have it, some clinics may not have it. So how are you going to tell your patient? Just tell them we would like to make arrangements for taking an X-ray of your hands, okay? Just to make sure everything is all right. And then do a urine routine. Okay, that's about it. These are some of the tests. When you come to management, I had posted my mnemonic on the group. So my mnemonic, for those who are new, who just joined the group, it's called DARTS, that is Diagnosis, Advice, Review, Treatment, and Safety Net. This is a mnemonic just so you know that these are the things you are supposed to talk about when you have 4 minutes left to talk about management. So basically, when you have taken a history in 3 minutes, when you have spoken about examination and tests in 1 minute, you still have 4 minutes to talk about management. So utilize those 4 minutes and try to cover all these things. Okay. Let's try to condense management as much as possible because we need to give some time to this patient to absorb that they have this condition. Okay. Now, moving on. So diagnosis. What is this condition? Is it long term? Would it be serious? So yes, of course, it is a long term condition. It is a condition relating to the immune system, right? And it is a serious condition. Pause. Please tell them that this is a serious condition. We suspect, use the word suspect because this is a first time presentation. We suspect that you may have a condition which is long standing, immune system mediated, full stop. Initially, it would involve small joints like the joints of the hands and feet of both the sides of the body. However, I also need to tell you that later on it can progress into involving any other joint or any other system of the body. Full stop. For this reason, the plan of care for you would involve a multidisciplinary team. Okay, so you are telling them that yes, the condition is serious. However, what we are going to do for you is involve a multidisciplinary team in your care. This is what you are telling them. Okay, so you have signposted that even though this condition is serious, but we have management for you. Okay, this is what it means when you say something like that. Right. Now, let's go to the treatment. So what is the treatment for this condition? You are located in the GP clinic. What can you do in the GP clinic? You can start this patient on a low dose of NSAIDs like ibuprofen. Okay, please give a low dose. And this patient definitely needs evaluation by a specialist. Okay, so it's a urgent referral within 2 weeks. That's the referral you need to give these patients. They need to be evaluated by the specialist. So you are going to tell them the treatment for this condition. For now, we would like to put you on a medication which is called ibuprofen. You might be aware of this medication. This will help with your pain and stiffness. When we start you on this medication, please remember to take it after food. Apart from that, we will give you another pill which acts as a stomach protective agent. Okay. This pill is supposed to be taken before food. You can start taking these medications, and in the meantime, we will plan your referral to the specialist who will see you at the clinic, specialist clinic, within 2 weeks. At the specialist clinic, now you need to tell the patient what to expect at the specialist clinic. Otherwise, they would get really anxious. So you need to tell them when you are given the referral to the specialist clinic, when you go to see the specialist, what happens is they assess you once again. They may order some more specialized tests and they will put you on some special medications after assessing you. Okay, so you have told them what happens. Do you have any questions about what I have told you so far? Are you following me? Would you like me to repeat something that I have said? Please go slowly in these scenarios, okay? Because as it is, patient is quite anxious that they are not feeling very well, they are not feeling very nice. And apart from that, it's a serious condition, okay? So you have to go slow and offer to repeat any of the information that you may have missed. Now moving on to advice. Always give a patient-centered or patient-structured advice. Please do not have 5 or 6 advices by rote learning that you can give to each and every patient in each and every cubicle. Please don't do that. That doesn't look very nice. Always have specific advice to give. Always demonstrate that you were listening to what the patient was saying when they were giving a history. Okay. Now, here in this scenario, patient did not smoke. She was drinking 1 or 2 drinks. That's absolutely fine. Okay. Is this patient working in an environment which makes them susceptible to an infection? Yes. Can somebody tell me about that? Do you think this patient is working in an environment which makes them susceptible? Yes, very good. They are working in the garden. So you have to tailor your advice to match the patient. What can you tell them? That because we are suspecting you may have this condition, okay? Please be very mindful of working in the garden. Please use appropriate gloves in case you prick yourself or hurt yourself while working in the garden. Okay, wash your hands thoroughly with soap and give some first aid, put a clean band-aid, and then you can continue. Okay, so give them some advice about this. And then about the diet. This patient, she says, I eat at home, I eat outside too. Now, she's not specifically telling you what sort of diet she eats. But if you do have time, spend some time and tell them the importance of eating a healthy, balanced diet, okay? Of including fruits and vegetables, fresh fruits and vegetables in their diet, and trying to limit outside foods, okay? This is something that you can tell them. Coming to red flags. What are some red flags in this scenario? Symptoms of septic arthritis, that is fever, severe swelling and warmth over the joints, okay, and any discharge from the joints. Please call us immediately. If you notice any shortness of breath, any chest pain, or any heart racing, okay, which is essentially palpitations that I'm talking about, then please do call us immediately. So these are 2 things that you can tell them. Specific safety net, once again, okay. Now, review. When can this patient review? They can review when they are experiencing any of the red flags that we have mentioned. When will they review with us next? So now, within 2 weeks, they are going to go see the specialist, right? Once the specialist appointment is over, we will call them for the review. Now, because you have told this patient that expect a multidisciplinary team to be involved in your care, right now, we are only suspecting that it's rheumatoid arthritis, right? We do not have any reports, nothing available. So we need to add the sentence this way that if you are diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis as we are suspecting, and as I had mentioned earlier, that a multidisciplinary team would be involved in your care. That would consist of us at the GP clinic, the general practitioners, your specialist practitioner, some nurses, some special therapists who will help you with your day-to-day activities and also help you with giving you some exercises to make your joints active and less stiff. So basically, physiotherapist and occupational therapist, that's what I mean. So all of these people will be involved in your care. Okay. If you would like some more information, then I can give you some leaflets or I can give you some reading materials. You could also go online and take a look at Arthritis Care UK. This is one of the organizations which gives all the information about arthritis, any form of arthritis. So the patient can go look up this information from the website and read until they are called for their appointment. If you have any more questions, if you would like to ask any more concerns, please let us know. We are here to help you. Okay, and then you finish your scenario and you can move on. Now, about the multidisciplinary team and the last points that I said, leaflets, right? If you are not able to finish all of them in the 4 minutes, then please don't panic. What is very important is you go slow with the diagnosis. You tell this patient that this is a lifelong condition and it can be serious. You give them the appropriate advice. You talk about the treatment. The treatment is low dose NSAIDs with a PPI, and the rest of the specialized management is done by the specialist. You talk about red flags when they can call you, and you talk about review. These things are very, very important to do. So make sure you are able to finish all of this. Leaflets, arthritis care, talking about that, and talking about the multidisciplinary team. That is not very important. If you have time, you can do it. Involving your senior. Okay, now this point, I do not encourage involving the senior because I prefer that candidates talk about these things, know about these things. Okay, you are an FY2, you have already finished rotations among various departments. So, right now, your job is to know at least what is going to be done, what is going to happen. Now, if there is something which warrants the senior's attention, or you are very uncomfortable and you want to talk about senior, after you have finished DARTS, your last point would be before you leave, my senior would also review you. Instead of saying, I would like to involve my senior, they will do this for you, they will do that for you, please avoid all of that and just say, before you leave, they will review you too. Finished. End of story. There is no need to say anything else. If you make your senior the second point, that is, you are talking about diagnosis and then you say, oh, I'd like to involve my senior for your care, right? Then it doesn't look really nice. It looks like the candidate is very dependent on the senior for giving these advices and these treatment options which they should know by now after they have cleared their final year medical exam and finished FY1 rotation. Okay, so please avoid doing that. Do your job and then you involve the senior. There are higher chances of passing if you do your job first and then involve your senior, as opposed to talking about what is wrong with you and then involving the senior. I do not recommend that. Okay, so this is my advice. Now, moving on to the bonus scenario which I was talking about. Now, this scenario can come in a form where if there's a patient, there's a lady who attends complaining of a discharging nodule over her elbow. Okay, she is already diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis and she says that she has a swelling on her elbow which is now discharging. So, when you have a patient like that, so you know what is going on, right? I hope that everyone knows what's going on. So basically, it's an impending septic arthritis, and it is definitely an infected nodule. It is also a rheumatoid flare. So there are three possibilities of conditions which may be going on with this patient. And what you need to do here is refer them to the specialist within a few hours, okay? Because the specialist needs to see them, assess them, and see if they are fit for taking corticosteroid injections. As general practitioners in the GP clinic, we can give them, but only after the specialist has assessed this patient. Without specialist assessment, we cannot give them the glucocorticosteroids or the corticosteroids injections. Okay, we cannot do that. So that's why if you have the scenario that says there is a lady about the same age, 55 to 58 years old, presenting to the clinic with complaints of some discharging lump, right? So please go talk to her and manage her and assess her. So this is what she says. She says it's an acute presentation. The lump was there for a very long time. She says this lump, it was there for a very long time, but for the last 5 to 6 days, it has been discharging. So please do take a good history of the discharge, elaborate it. So what I mean by saying that is, when did it start? How did it start? What is the color of the discharge? Does it have any smell? Is it continuous or is it intermittent? So what are you doing for this discharge? How are you cleaning it every day? Are you keeping it closed and covered? So ask all these things and then move on. Does she have any fever? You want to rule out septic arthritis, right? So once again, the history, if you come to the history part, it's the same thing here. So she has a nodule, it is discharging. So you are doing an ODPARA for the discharge, and then you will ask about fever, fatigue, and weight loss. Okay. Um, and here you are going to rule out septic arthritis, reactive arthritis, history of altered bowel movements, and history of travel. Okay. So rule out in the history of presenting illness itself. Move on to past history. When were you diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis? What is the treatment? Are you following up with your GP regularly for this? Are you following up with your multidisciplinary team or your physiotherapist, occupational therapist for this? Okay. Then you can come to obstetric, menstrual. Yes, you can do all of those. Then coming to personal and lifestyle history. So any family history of rheumatoid arthritis. So now that this nodule is discharging, how is your work and your activities affected? Is she controlling her habits and her diet? Okay. Then moving on, examination, the same thing. Okay, examiner may give you findings about the discharge, but you need to mention local examination of the lump and of the joints. Okay, only then you will get findings. If you say specific questions, you will get answers to those questions only. Then tests, investigations. What is the extra test you will do in the bonus scenario is you will take a swab of the discharge, okay, and you will test it. And diagnosis, okay, in the diagnosis you can say that it looks like it's a flare of your rheumatoid arthritis. Please avoid saying it is an infected rheumatoid nodule, it is a septic arthritis. Just tell her it's a flare of your rheumatoid arthritis. And is this a serious condition? Well, for now it is a serious condition. It requires to be seen by the specialist within a few hours. So we are going to refer you to the specialist within a few hours who will assess you and give you the appropriate treatment. Okay, so that's the treatment of the bonus scenario. The rest of the stuff is the same. Okay, right. So that's about the scenario today. Okay, and thank you so much, everyone, for taking your time for attending the session. And as you are aware, you can like my page on Facebook. You can email me if you have any questions or you would like to know any other services that I'm offering. You can follow me on my channel, because I will update all these sessions that we do on the channel, and I'll keep you updated on the group when the recording is being updated. Now, Dr. Rania has a question which says, why do we need to ask about weight loss, fatigue, abnormal swelling, low appetite in this case? Because like I said, it's a serious condition. It can progress within months to involve any other system of the body, respiratory system, cardiovascular system. So that's why you need to ask about these things. Okay, so you are going to rule out whether this condition has progressed that far or not. So that's the reason why you need to ask these questions. Okay. All right. So this is about this case. Any other questions, please do let me know. And really grateful to all of you for taking your time and attending the session. Thank you very much.